At the start of next month, a new law comes in Scotland that has provoked a furious row about prejudice, offence and freedom of speech. It's called the Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland Act, and it criminalises threatening or abusive behaviour intended to stir up hatred on the grounds of sexual orientation, trans identity, age or disability, not biological sex itself. The Act creates a new crime of stirring up hatred against protected groups, punishable by up to 7 years in prison. The protected characteristics are age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, trans identity, and variations in sex characteristics, otherwise known as intersexuality. Stirring up racial hatred is already a crime, but the new law omits sex as a protected characteristic. The SNP government says it's preparing a separate law to tackle misogyny. And here's First Minister Humza Yousaf defending the new law back when he was Justice Minister.
So to those who think they may accidentally somehow fall foul of the law in relation to even Elaine Smith's point, because they believe sex is immutable, or they state an adult man cannot become a female, or they campaign for the rights of Palestinians, as Sandra White mentioned to me yesterday, or those who proselytise that same-sex relationships are sinful, none of these people would fall foul of the stirring up of hatred offence for solely stating their belief, even if they did so in a robust manner.
There's concern, though, from those who believe single-sex spaces should stay single-sex, like J.K. Rowling, who say their views could be criminalised and that women would be left unprotected from this new hate crime law. Responding to a suggestion she'd have to delete her ex posts, Rowling tweeted, "If you genuinely imagine I delete posts calling a man so as not to be prosecuted under this ludicrous law, stand by for the mother of all April Fool's jokes." Police Scotland say they're not instructing officers to target actors, comedians, or any other people or groups. However, explanatory notes attached to the Act say someone can stir up hatred through, for example, social media, online streaming, or public performance of a play, etc. Critics of the legislation have ranged from some feminists to the Catholic Church, people like Elon Musk, from artists to lawyers. From April Fool's Day, we'll see if their concerns come true. In a moment, we'll speak to the SNP's Fulton McGregor. But first, let's talk to former senior civil servant Dr. Lucy Hunter Blackburn of the Edinburgh-based policy research collective Murray Blackburn Mackenzie, whose work includes campaigns on sex-based rights for women. Thank you very much for talking to us. I want to ask you, first of all, what is it that you fear you won't be able to say or tweet under this new law?
Well, the fear is that a wide range of things are simply unclear after the legislation. The attempt to try and get clearer protections for freedom of speech around sex and gender identity were totally rebutted by the government, and we're left uncertain.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Could I ask you for some examples?
Well, the sort of things that women are worried about are talking about can lesbians only be women so lesbians can't have a penis was a sort of phrase. Can I stand with a placard and say that? What happens if someone says that trans women are men, that they can't change sex, people can't change sex, and things like that. It's really fundamental points that are based on the belief that people cannot change sex. And although the First Minister, as he now is, said in Parliament that it's all safe, that's not what the law says. And when we tried to get things like protection for those kind of statements written into the law, we were repeatedly rebutted in Parliament.
OK. I mean, I am going to quote Humza Yousaf as a Justice Minister. He said, "To those who think they may accidentally somehow fall foul of this law because they believe sex is immutable, or they believe an adult man cannot become female, or they campaign for the rights of Palestinians, or those that proselytise that same-sex relationships is sinful, none of the people would fall foul of the stirring up of hatred offence for solely stating their beliefs, even if they did so in a robust manner." Why? Because solely stating any belief, which I accept may be offensive to some, is not breaching the criminal threshold.
The problem with that is he's saying things in Parliament, but the law is what's on the face of the Act. And the Act doesn't say that. And we tried to get statements like that written into the face of the Act, as has been done in England, where sexual orientation, when it was added, some specific protections were written in, and as are written in for religion. But the government would not write those statements in. So it doesn't matter what, in legal terms, what he said on the floor of the Holyrood is irrelevant. It means nothing.
OK. I'm going to bring in Fulton McGregor, if I may. Thank you for the moment to you. I may come back to you. Mr. McGregor, hello to you. Yes, hello. Thank you for joining us. Can you first of all explain to our audience right across the country what was the problem this law was designed to combat?
Well, hate crime is a major problem across Scotland and across the country, and it wreaks havoc on individuals, on communities and on families. So, in essence, this bill is part of a range of measures to tackle that.
And so if Lucy Hunter Blackburn held up a placard saying lesbians don't have a penis, or if J.K. Rowling tweeted trans women are men, could they be reported to police under this new hate crime legislation?
My understanding of that is that whether they're reported to the police or not is up to individuals. But my understanding
so the answer is yes.
Well, my understanding is that it wouldn't be taken any further. I was a member of the Scottish Parliament committee that took forward this legislation, and there are robust safeguards in place to protect freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is extremely important to the Scottish Parliament, to Scottish democracy, to me as an MSP.
Sure. I am going to pause you there, if I may, just because time is short. So you're, if I've understood you correctly, somebody holding up a placard saying lesbians don't have a penis, or J.K. Rowling tweeting trans women are men, could be reported to the police. You've just said, but the police wouldn't take it any further. You've got no idea whether they take it further or not. The police, in fact, Police Scotland have said they're going to investigate every hate crime.
So what I'm saying is the law doesn't come in place until the 1st of April, and people could report these offences or these incidents just now. What I'm saying is the law that we passed, these are issues, these are statements, or whatever example you want to use, that shouldn't be taken forward and shouldn't be prosecuted. It's not the point of the law. The point of the law is not to curb freedom of speech, not in any way.
No, I know
that has perhaps been the narrative, but that is not the point of the law.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's not the point, you say, but let me quote Tony Lenihan. He's 1KC. He says, the problem with this legislation is the offence is in the eye of the beholder. So, for example, Mr. McGregor, if you said to me, after April the 1st, we're in Scotland, Victoria, you're too old to be on TV. If I felt you were stirring up hatred on the grounds of age, I could report you to the police. Correct?
Yep. Well, we've already established that you could report that to the police anyway. But what I'm saying is that isn't the point of the law. It's not. It isn't to capture these sort of instances.
No, I know.
And you know, I'm confident that the law will be implemented properly by the justice agencies across Scotland. But what I would want to say is, I heard the previous speaker who I've heard on committee before as well, and others, and I do think that the government and agencies across Scotland, we do have a job to do to make sure that people do feel assured and that the law works for everybody. So we can't, I'm in no way suggesting that we dismiss these concerns. Absolutely not. We can't do that. And if people do have concerns, and concerns are there and within the public, we needed to address those and take them seriously. And the government have got a power of work to do there. But the law itself is good legislation. It was voted for by the SNP, by the Labour Party, by the Green Party, by the Liberal Democrats. It had very much cross-party support. And I'm confident that it will be implemented properly, and that some of these concerns will hopefully prove to be unfounded, and people will hopefully be able to see that soon.
Could deliberately misgendering someone be a hate crime under this new legislation?
Well, I mean, it depends on the circumstances of that. Obviously, that is part of the characteristics that are in there.
Yes.
But it depends on the circumstances of that, whether that would be classified is stirring up hatred. So,
If
it's not an example I can talk about, without the full context.
Yeah, I mean, there is no context. These are just examples which, if you're bringing in this law, you should be able to answer for our audience. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. McGregor. I want to come back to Dr. Lucy Hunter-Blackburn. Are you reassured by anything you heard there?
No, not in the least. During the committee sessions, so Mr. McGregor would have been in the room, Humza Yousaf, who is now the First Minister, made an explicit promise to us and to other women who were concerned that we would be contacted and involved in work after the Act was passed to try and sort out our concerns, to put things in place. And that promise was roundly broken. I mean, really shamelessly broken. We kept on writing, when are we going to be involved? And eventually we were just told, no, you're not. So being told now that if we have concerns, they're going to talk to us. I mean, they've had 3 years in which they have absolutely slammed the door in our face, made no effort whatsoever to engage with people with concerns. And now they're surprised that as the law is on the brink of being brought in by a police force, which I'll add is extremely overstretched. We already know. They're surprised that people are still worried. It's gobsmacking, actually.
Mr. McGregor, would it be all right to come back to you for the final word? Yeah. It is possible, isn't it, that come April the 1st, there could be multiple complaints to the police in Scotland about, for example, J.K. Rowling?
It is possible that those complaints could be made. As I've said earlier on, those complaints could be made just now. But depending on the context of what you're saying, and I think what you're saying about regarding various tweets, I would not envisage that those should be taken further forward by the police, or they don't capture the essence and the spirit of the law that's been passed.
But it wouldn't necessarily stop, for example, people making complaints to the authorities, and the police have said. They have promised that all allegations of hate will be followed up.
Yeah, you're right to say that. It doesn't stop at an individual contacting the authorities, no. But I have faith that this law will be implemented properly, that it will be implemented in the spirit that is intended, and in achieving its aims of those of which are to tackle the scourge of serious hate crime across Scotland, which I think everybody agrees with, that there is an issue.
Thank you very much, Fulton McGregor of the SNP. Thank you for being with us and talking to our audience on Newsnight. Lucy Hunter-Blackburn, thank you for speaking to us. Thank you.